Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming along to this extraordinary council meeting. I haven't made you get up and raise. Usually extraordinary council meetings are quite quiet and rather informal, but I just want to welcome everybody here today who has come along. Clearly it's a very important issue. Thank you for taking time out of your evening, both the councillors, media, members of the public and of course staff as well, for a very important meeting here today. I will kick us off with a quick prayer. We gather with grateful hearts for this opportunity to come together. Thank you for the gifts each person brings to this table. For the privilege of our work and purpose, we give thanks. May our gratitude inspire thoughtfulness in our discussions and compassion in our decisions as we begin this meeting. Amen. Righto, on to apologies. So a little bit of regular, and sorry, this is a little bit on the fly. Councillor Mackenzie has applied for a leave of absence from today to the 1st of July. I'm asking the council under section 13.3 of standing orders that the council delegate the mayor the power to grant the leave of absence to protect the member's authority. Is everybody comfortable with that? Could I say a mover that the council delegates the authority to the mayor to grant or decline the leave of absence application by Councillor Mackenzie? Moved by Councillor Stringer, seconded by Councillor Coates. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. And against? Thank you. And just to tie that off, I will grant that. Of course, I think that is reasonable. Moving on, we have one public forum today. We have Peter Hargest and Mark Copeland. I can see Peter, can't quite see Mark, he's hidden behind Councillor Coates. Coming up to the front, you guys know the drill, 5 minutes to speak and 5 minutes for questions, and then we will rock into it.
We on there? All good? I'd like to thank the Mayor and councillors for the opportunity to speak today. The next few weeks could shape our future for the next 40 years. It is important all our councillors and public are fully engaged through every step of this process. Without ado, I'll let Peter carry on with our written.
Thank you, Mark. Your Worship, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, local government consolidation will become a fact. Gore District is losing critical mass and it will go. Can you hear me okay? Good. We the people should be defining our way forward instead of having a possibly very unwanted decision imposed upon us either by the government or our present council. The solution we want should be sensible, workable and easily understood. We do not want an outcome that has the appearance of being all in one basket, some sort of tidy, just to suit the fancy of bureaucrats. There are two clearly separate and distinct communities of interest in Southland. For this reason, the sensible solution is to have two unitary authorities as proposed by the Southland District Council. It is of immense concern to read in the agenda item 3.1 today, the recommendation C, where it seeks approval tonight, that the Council approves the appointment of two councillors to participate in a joint working party with Invercargill City Council and any other willing council to consider governance options for a Southland unitary, that would be authority. Clearly this indicates serious prior discussion, predetermination and an agenda that has progressed way further down the track than we may imagine and is a demonstrated Gore District Council preference for a single Southland unitary authority. Who gave Gore District Council the mandate to make that decision without proper community consultation? In the light of recommendation C, the recommendation D is little more than a smokescreen. The statement, and I quote, "and any other willing council," end of quote, is a slap in the face to our good neighbour, Southland District. It is very pointed that Gore District Council has excluded any engagement with the Southland District with its two unitary authority proposal. Southland District is our strongest and closest community of interest. Rural people, rural towns, rural communities. The rural part of Gore District Council was once part of the old Southland County until we were forced to join Gore District Council in 1989. One lesson we have learned from the Gore District Council experience is that urban and rural are incompatible and given to conflict. The majority deal to the minority. An example, back in the day, Gore Borough councillors, in response to questions from federated farmers, gave an assurance that urban parks and reserves costs would never be applied to rural ratepayers in the new Gore District Council. Some years later, in one night in this very room, rural unsubsidised road seal extension expenditure of $140,000 was removed and was replaced 10 minutes later with $140,000 rural contribution to urban parks and reserves. They did it because they could. Rural ratepayers could do nothing about it. History could repeat itself with Invercargill and Dunedin doing the same thing to rural partners if they each held the majority in a blended council. A single unitary authority in Southland would leave Invercargill City Council with 57 to 58% of the control. As a rural person, I want to be governed by people elected from the wider rural Southland community, all pulling in the same direction. A person from Heddon Bush, another from Scotts Gap, have much in common with a person from Waimumu. This could well be what the Southland County become. This could well be what made the Southland County become what F.W.G. Miller described as the king of counties. We don't want a council divided by two clearly different backgrounds, differing worldviews and different priorities. Now, these might just be cliches, but urban business buys wholesale and sells retail. Costs are passed on. Rural business buys retail and sells wholesale. Costs cannot be passed on. Often someone else decides the price. The Southland rural community is a highly productive economic powerhouse with very much potential. We don't need distractions. We don't want a council dominated by a city majority. We don't want a council dominated by a city majority looting and plundering our rural resources. And we don't want another 40 years of conflict. Leave the city to look after the city itself. As the first cab off the rank, indeed having begun the whole process, the Southland District proposal should be considered seriously. Southland District Council is part of the wider Southland rural community. The first port of call for Gore District Council should be attending a meeting with Southland District Council on June 17, if not before, and all Gore District councillors should attend. Gore councillors should become informed and be well aware of the Southland District Council proposal entitled Together for Our Future. Gore and Mataura are rural towns. There is a need to do due diligence and learn how the Southland District Community Boards work in Winton, Wyndham, Waikaia, Lumsden, Edendale, Riversdale and Balfour. These community boards have full control of local rates that are collected on their behalf. Recommendation C, as we discussed earlier, has alarmingly consequential overtones and should be thrown out today or tonight. Having two councillors and a mayor making decisions on their own is democratically unacceptable. We need much more opportunity for our public to become informed, become aware of the issues, so that they can fully participate in creating the solution. We want a workable and sensible solution. Going with Southland District Council will enable Gore to retain its unique identity. It will become the major base for the Southland District. Going with Invercargill, Gore will be lost in the wash as just another town with no significance.
Thank you, Peter, for that. It's all right if I ask a question quickly, Ben? I want to ask, did all the councillors here get a copy of the Southland District proposal and have they critiqued it? Has everybody seen that, had a copy of that? You have all had a copy, all of you. Have you not had one, Donna? Oh, right, yep. And you've all read it properly, like you've critiqued it right through. Good. The other thing the other thing was the council sent a, what do you call it here, government reorganisation initiative request back to their thing. It was a 5-page document from the council. We have critiqued that in the last 2 days, and I find this highly distorted. And didn't we, P? We found it, yeah. We're busy liaisoning with the Commission about it right now. But anyway, no further ado. Questions? Thank you. It's us too. Yep.
So we have a minute and a half for questions. I just want to respond to that question. It went to a council meeting over a year ago. So where we took feedback, that was the previous council, I would admit. So there are 4 people around this table that wouldn't have been involved in that, but this has been a long-standing conversation. So there has been lots of back and forth with Local Government Commission and talked about the proposals as well. So just want to, it's not hidden, it's all publicly available. It's all been available.
So you made sure the new council's got a copy as soon as they come?
There's an expectation for new councillors that they read through previous council minutes, as I did when I came onto council and as everybody else did when they come onto council, is to get up to speed. It's not the responsibility of the council of the day to catch everybody up. Questions? We have a minute to go. Councillor Coates.
Thank you for coming in and speaking to us. Just a question around the meeting on the 17th of June. Is that the Local Government Commission meeting that we've all been invited to at Transport World that you're talking about?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Coates. Just to assure the public and also the gentleman up here, yes, all councillors will be involved in that as part of the Local Government Commission process. Any other questions? Councillor Fraser, and then I go Councillor Stringer, and then that will do us.
Thank you, gentlemen. You brought up a very good point at the beginning. This is going to be the biggest decision that will be made whilst I'm still alive. But would we not be best as a council to look at more than just one option? We must look at other options as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But where was the option for Southland District Council? Thank you.
Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, gentlemen. You brought up during your speech about, well, yeah, exactly that, communities of interest, the joining of Southland and Gore, but there's also neighbouring councils that, or not neighbouring councils, neighbouring townships that use a lot of Gore's services. So they are benefiting from services we provide, yet they're not paying rates into us as well. How would you address that, even if Gore and Southland joined?
Look, we've talked about this before. Yes, we have Tapanui and perhaps a little bit of Heriot are our main counterparts that come in, but they're probably around about 20%. 80% is coming in from Southland District Council. You list off all those towns, Edendale, Wyndham, Riversdale, Balfour, right up the side. It is huge what come and use our services in relation to over the boundary. Do we try at a later stage to create a boundary and bring in Tapanui and Heriot? They would love to come into Gore. We've known that for years.
Thank you, Councillor Stringer. Sorry, I'm just going to ask one more because I'm cheeky like that. Just obviously recognising that option 3 is a predominantly rural council and does cross boundaries into Otago as well. Did you both have concerns with it? Obviously acknowledging that you want the Southland option there. I've heard that loud and clear. But is there an allergic reaction to option 3 as well, or is that something that you think also should be considered?
Probably more allergic because I would call Southland District Council our brothers in arms. And the other thing we've got to mention too is that the Mataura River is integral in this. It begins in Southland, it comes through Gore and it goes back into Southland. And that Mataura River is an integral part. And how could you go and carve that off and put it into Otago anyway? No, thank you, Ben.
Thank you both. Appreciate that. Thank you both for making the time to come along and speak today. We really appreciate it. We'll get on with the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Lovely stuff. Okay. Moving on to only item on here, which is 3.1, the local government reorganisation process. There's a couple of rumours out there that have been sparked up over the weekend and since we created this paper that I just want to dispel because I think it's really important. So there seems to be a rumour out there that me and Mayor Scott hate each other or don't get along, and that's the reason why the 2 unitary option is not on here. That's not true at all. I get along very well with Mayor Scott. We work together on a lot of different things, from WasteNet to civil defence to all sorts of different things. But we do disagree on things. We're politicians at the end of the day. Mayor Scott disagreed with the direction that we took on waters. That's his prerogative. That's the community that he's representing. And there was also disagreements about the 2 unitary thing as well. So I'm not going to dispel that, but to say that because we hate each other, the option isn't there is not true at all. There's also commentary around the Hugs and Rainbows comment that was in the Southland Times over the weekend. Again, this comment was made a long time ago around the lack of financial information that was in there. It's not a criticism of the 2 unitary proposal itself. It obviously has its merits, but the lack of financial information at the time, and we are still lacking a lot of that financial information, means that a lot of the numbers that I thought were being made up were essentially selling Hugs and Rainbows. There's a lot of talk in the community that the Gore District is in the worst financial position in the country. That simply isn't true. We obviously have our issues. There's lots that we need to grapple with, but there are lots of other councils, including our neighbours, who are grappling with issues as well. There's an obvious stormwater issue that we have to grapple with. Southland has a similar one around roads. Invercargill has a brand new museum they have to pay for. And Rugby Park, we all have different constraints and problems that we have to deal with. So to say that one council needs to be amalgamated because another council will save them isn't helpful to the conversation. And we just need to think about the longevity of this. As the 2 gentlemen before said, this is a once-in-a-generation decision. We should look at all the options in their neutrality and figure out what is going to be the best representation for all of us. There also seems to be a perception that this is a done deal. And this is absolutely not true. This paper in front of us today is really the first step of many, although I acknowledge we've had lots of first steps up to this point, to really get an understanding from the community about the way they want to go forward. There are a couple of other things that I want to acknowledge up front as well and make really clear. We all know around this table, staff as well, that this is a really compressed time frame. And it's not our choice. The government gave us, with the Head Start proposal, 3 months to sort something out or get lumped into the backstop program. We, as a local government sector, have said multiple times that this is way too quick, but at the end of the day, this is why ministers have done it, to create the conversation, to bring all of you together, to bring us together, to have this conversation about amalgamation and speed it up. With that, we acknowledge that there's also limited financial information. We're making really big decisions and we're going in largely blind. We're going based on what we feel and the representation we would like to have. But if we were to do this right, if you look at the waters process that took many, many, many years and the amount of different financial models and information that we work through to make that decision, we don't have the time frame to do this with the Head Start proposal in particular. And we also want to acknowledge that this will take a long time. Whether we go through the Head Start proposal, the Local Government Commission, or the backstop process, we're still looking at 2028 at the very earliest before any of these wheels actually start moving. So you're not going to see everyone moved into an amalgamated council overnight. This will take a long period of time and there will be a lot of engagement along the way. So, With that all being said, and there's a lot of commentary that's come through from the community and also councillors in terms of feedback, I wanted to put some thoughts out there before we get into discussion. We'll jump straight into discussion. There's not a whole lot of questions that staff can answer respectfully. This is a political decision and is ultimately a conversation that we're having with the public rather than with staff, although they are here to help with process if need be. I think the option 1, status quo with enhanced shared services, is quite confusing in the way it's written. And I think we did it with the best intentions when we had our informal discussion, but it doesn't really make sense now that there's been a bit of conversation around it. The status quo was put in there with the intention that the community could inform us that they didn't want any changes within the council structure. They wanted to stick with the councils they want and to fight the government or the local government commission process and to say we want to stay as we are. That's really complicated with the local government commission because obviously even if we don't do a Head Start proposal, we will still go into the local government commission and they will still be consulting on different options. So status quo isn't really status quo and they would consult on an enhanced status quo as well. So with that being said, I would suggest that we change option 1, and I hope this encapsulates the conversation the two gentlemen put to us. That option 1 be that the Gore District Council does not submit a Head Start proposal and instead defaults, by default continues with the local government commission process. That gives people an opportunity to go down the 2 unitary pathway or to say that we're not going to do this at all, and it also extends our time frame as well. So this would encapsulate the enhanced status quo. I said that bit. Councillors and the public may question then why we would consult on a 1 unitary option for Southland. That is purely because Invercargill have stated that they would be interested in doing a Head Start proposal. So I think it is worthwhile engaging with the community to see whether there is any interest in that. There may not be, and we may be able to go back to Invercargill and say, sorry, we don't want to do a Head Start proposal, but it will obviously still be considered through the local government commission process anyway. To my understanding to date, unless Mayor Scott calls me tomorrow and says otherwise, I don't believe that Southland District Council are interested in a Head Start proposal, so they would want to go through the local government commission process regardless. As for option 3 as well, option 3 isn't being consulted as part of the local government process, so this gives an opportunity to hear from our public if they would like a Southland Otago combination as well and to work over those regional boundaries too. So, with that being said, and I acknowledge that I may have stolen the thunder of councillors who have spent a lot of time preparing over the last couple of days, but I've been trying to get this all right so that we can put it forward. I will open the floor for discussion if there is any after that big spiel. Councillor Coates.
Just a quick question. Can you clarify what option 4 is?
Certainly. Option 4 is other. It was a suggestion by councillors last week that we provide a commentary box so that people can put forward whatever idea they like. We acknowledge that we've taken 9 different ideas and tried to drill them down into some really concise ideas. We still want to hear your feedback. We just wanted to try and assess whether there is a front runner. And that's really confusing if you just go, put whatever you like. But we still wanted to allow that opportunity as well. Councillor Bruce?
So I still do want to make a motion to put Southland in there as an option on their own. Can we sort that out now, or? Okay.
We'll just acknowledge that and we'll come round to when we do the motions. If that's right. Councillor Gardiner?
Just with the Southland proposal and the Head Start, why does Southland not want to go with a Head Start proposal and with the 2 unitaries Is there a reason for that, or is it because it gives you more choice, whereas if the local government thing goes through, it comes down to a referendum of the whole of Southland, which means that Invercargill holds the trump card of the majority?
I'll do a more personalised answer and then I'll do a more political answer. The more personalised answer is I don't think that Southland District Council love being told what to do by the government. So that's probably the personalised feelings for it. I think from a practical sense, it's that the local government commission process they asked for, they're engaging with, and it is a process that's been set out and it's legislated for. The Head Start process is very much throw in all of your ideas and ministers will pick through whether they want to take them forward or not. So they're more wanting to stick with the process that's legislated rather than doing the Head Start proposal, and ultimately take that risk that if the referendum does fail and we get put into the backstop process and that our destiny is determined for us, I think they're willing to take that risk. Councillor Cupid.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Councillor Bruce and what the gentleman said. I think we should have option 5 for a 2-unitary in Southland option, being Gore with Southland. And a couple of other questions on the recommendation for C, with appointing 2 councillors to participate in a working party with Invercargill. Should we not wait until after the survey and then decide if that's what the direction the community wants to go before we do that? And on recommendation B, approving the council's participation in further investigation, does that mean we're approving funding, or what does that actually mean?
So I'll try and tee those off one by one. So recommendation C, I tend to agree with you around its, cart before the horse. The issue we have is that we're now down to 2 months to put forward a Head Start proposal. So in the scenario that we engage with the community, and that would realistically take a month, and as the gentleman very rightly pointed out, there is a real concern about losing that rural voice with a 1-unitary. The conversation that I had with Mayor Tom is to start with those conversations early. We're not agreeing to anything. It's trying to understand what a predominantly rural, how you would protect that rural voice within a 1-unitary model can work, so we can do that work now and use the time that we've got. It's not signing us up to anything. It's not signing us up to a Head Start. It's just discussing how we would make that rural sector part and then try and alleviate some of the concerns that were addressed today. That might not happen, but I think that's an important piece of work that we should try and get the ball rolling on. For B, no, it's not authorising funding for that modelling. My understanding is that Invercargill is taking on some investigation work as to what a 1-unitary would look like anyway, and Environment Southland, I think, is doing similar work too, and our Otago colleagues are also doing a whole bunch of modelling. So this would just be making our data accessible so that they can do that modelling rather than trying to make their lives harder. Councillor Stringer?
Thank you, Worship. Now, just with the Head Start, there's nothing to stop neighbouring councils, i.e. Clutha and, say, Waitaki, putting a Head Start proposal on that join them and Gore at the end of the day, and we would be lumped into that process. Am I correct?
That is correct. So I was going to say legislation, but the Head Start proposal framework says that you only need the authorisation of 2 TAs per unitary authority. So that could mean, yes, the Otago councils, if they wanted to, could include us in their proposal. And similarly, if Southland District and Invercargill City decided they wanted to do a 1-unitary, we would be caught up in that as well, yes. That is the real risk that is happening in other areas. Timaru is probably the best example of that, where councils are going to get caught up in something they might not agree with.
Further to that, and then the backstop proposal, is there a risk that if we do merge with Southern, that the backstop proposal goes well, we might include you into Invercargill anyway.
Yes, yep, that's a possibility. As Minister Bishop put it so elegantly, the Head Start proposal is the carrot, the backstop is the stick. So should the referendum fail, then, or, we all want to do it separately, we could be forced into an option that nobody agreed with. My personal view is that if the referendum was successful and you had the 2 unitary option, I don't see a minister overruling that. I mean, it's not a politically savvy option to overrule a decision, although in fairness, whatever government that comes in would be freshly elected, so they would have a brand new mandate. So, yeah. Councillor McDonald?
I concur with Councillor Cupid. I want an option 5 there for the two unitaries for Southland. That option 1 there, if you were reading that and didn't know much about it, you wouldn't know what you were signing up for. So to vote for that, the way it sits, what does it mean? Does not submit a Head Start proposal? That would tell you nothing. So you need that option 5 there that clearly states there's an option for the 2 unitaries in Southland.
Can I just get some clarification from the councillors who want to put that forward? I'm not against adding more options. I think the community having more say is fantastic. Is that to ask Southland to do a Head Start proposal for the 2 unitary, or is that to go through the local government commission process for the 2 unitary? I just wanted some clarification on that.
Yeah, I believe to do a Head Start proposal.
Yeah, I believe a Head Start because you've got more control, and you may not lose the vote in the other way. Yeah.
Also needs to be there for a community consultation.
So just again, clarification. So if the community came back and said, yep, we want to do that, and that's absolutely fine, we would need authorisation from both Southland District and also Invercargill District to go down that path. Because it's two territorial authorities per unitary authority. So we would need 2 for our unitary, and then you'd also need authorisation from Invercargill to create their own as well. So just, I'm not saying that might not happen. I think that both Mayor Scott and Mayor Campbell would be open to that, but I'm just putting that out there. Councillor Cupid?
So just one more question to clarify with the survey. Once we've collated the data and got the most preferred option, that is what we'll put into a Head Start proposal.
Again, so, apologies for this because it's a bit of a moving target. So for transparency with the public, when we talked about this as a group of councillors, we talked about doing a first engagement with kind of thoughts and feelings as to put forward, and then a second engagement once we had financial modelling. The way that it probably works better, because it's only 2 months, like doing two engagement periods in the space of 2 months is really, really difficult because we've got to fit in council meetings and assessing the results and things like that. It's more to keep it an ongoing engagement over the next 2 months so that we can hear the feedback and we can kind of check in with the community and what the feedback's been as we go. It also means we can put the financial data out there as soon as we have it as well, if that's shared with us from the councils that are commissioning it. So it'll probably be continuous. We will have to draw a line in the sand at some point and go, we need to make a decision around the Head Start, but we can have that conversation. We've got a council meeting on the 30th of June, so it could potentially do a bit of an update then as to what discussions we need to have and with who. Just on that, and again, for full transparency, I will continue to have conversations with all of the neighbouring mayors to keep, because there's lots of moving parts. We're not the only ones doing this. There are, six, seven other mayors with their own complexities and their own challenges and their own discussions happening as well. So it is going to be a very busy 2 months in this space. Councillor Fraser?
Thank you, Worship. And the trouble I can see with all of this is just going to be so much information out there and opposed decisions made by people above us that we all may have no control over. Because my other concern is we've got a CCO that we've set up that will become null and void, and the amount of money we've put into that. So there's a lot of moving targets that are going to move right out of the target range.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. It reminded me about the water CCO. So that's obviously a challenge that we have to grapple with as well. So for full clarity, that will be stood up and operational well before any amalgamation happens. That is to be operational by the 1st of July 2027. That is not the fault of this community nor the councillors around this table or the previous table. I've heard from both Minister Bishop and Minister Watts they wish that they had had this amalgamation conversation before the waters one. We would have appreciated that too, but we are where we are and we have to deal with what's in front of us. Just on the joint working party, that would be something that would be unpacked as well. My understanding from Invercargill is they're quite open to retaining, if there was a one unitary, to retaining Gore's water assets within a CCO. If Southland were included in that working party conversations, we'd need to discuss what their thoughts and feelings are. Whether it's two or one unitary, that's still a complication for us. Councillor Stringer?
Thank you, Worship. So say there is a Head Start proposal go in, where would that leave the local government authority on their investigation?
It's a good question. The thought around the mayoral forum table is that there's a provision in the legislation that if things change significantly, the local government commission can end the process. They're the only ones who can end the process. The councils can't, not even Southland, who initiated the process. So they could make the decision to cancel the process because we put forward a Head Start proposal, so it's no longer tenable. There's also a provision, I think there was three, I can't remember the third, but the second one is that the minister can also direct that the local government commission no longer continues, which he would most likely do, considering he would be authorising the Head Start proposal. Councillor Fraser?
So just on that, the minister could also overrule the local government commission. He could overrule and make their own decision inside that, even with a Head Start.
Technically, yeah. Again, politically unpalatable to come into a legislated process and then throw it out. I mean, yeah, it's not been done before, but you would be opening yourself up into judicial review, and it would get very messy very quick. Sorry, just on that as well. So the Local Government Commission and the Minister have been in conversation. They understand the difficulties with this. The Local Government Commission has been told to box on with the investigation into the Southland reorganisation. Councillor Bruce?
So just for the community, if we did do a Head Start investigation, how much would that cost them?
That's a good question. Probably not a whole lot, just staff time, and it would be combined across all of the partners that you'd be working with. So it's a very light touch proposal to say we're working with these people. These are the 5 criteria and how we've met them, and then you send it in. A lot of the grunt work is done after it's legislated and after the central government election. That's when the real work begins. And that would happen, I mean, yeah, that work would happen regardless of what process you go through for amalgamation. Councillor Coates?
Thank you, Worship. I have got a question, but I've also got a bit of a novel, but I kind of want to get it off my chest because that's why I'm sitting here. But I stood for the community board last triennium to be the voice for Matera, thinking that I'd make a positive difference. After a very short period of time, I realised that the elected members and previous weren't the issue, the structure was. The so-called Charter of Understanding between Mataura and the Gore District Council was lacking any sort of formal delegations or authority. So that's why I stood for council, to then be the voice around the table. But yet here we are 8 months in. I now know that's still not the answer. It falls back to the structure, where 5 elected members that haven't achieved anything in the 8 months of their 3-year term, and not from lack of willingness. For example, the scheduled meeting that should have taken place last night was cancelled due to staff saying no agenda items were received. And I know this isn't the case. I know Mataura Community Board members have tried to have items added to the agenda and have failed. Myself and the previous ward councillor, Mayor Ben, and staff had a meeting on the 11th of May to address the previous charter, and after that meeting I presumed we would have a draft copy to then adopt and bring to council to sign off. That didn't happen. My point being, raising these issues at a time when we're discussing any type of restructure or amalgamation, the representation and delegation structure needs to be at the front of people's minds, that alongside what is the financial implications directly impacting our community as a whole. We need the data and we need to protect our identity as a district. This is a once-in-a-lifetime decision that will affect us all in the future. Any decisions made need to be data and evidence-based, not emotional, and we need to bring the community along on the journey. I also do wonder if letting the LGC just continue on and letting the legislative process continue so we don't have to burden the district's ratepayers. Is that a better option rather than going down the process of spending further money when they are already in stage 2? The government are rushing this process, and come the 9th of August, they'll be on pause, and we don't even know what or who the new government will look like, let alone if the Head Start backstop process will still be in effect. But at the end of all this, the most important thing is equal representation and delegation for our district and cost savings that can be made to relieve the burden on current and future ratepayers. So my question is the consultation process that we're about to decide on going to include ideas around the structures and setups for the representation? Like, is that going to be included in the consultation document? Because you can go out to the community and say we're going to be represented by a bunch of community boards, but anyone that lives in Mataura isn't going to want to vote for that because the community board's structures, it's pretty one. It's there, but you know, if you've been on the community board or if you've been to the community board about something in Mataura, nothing happens, and you can ask anyone and that was part of the community in 1989 till now. We aren't represented in Mataura very well. That's all.
The simple answer is yes. We would be taking opinions on structures. I know that we talked about that last week as to what a structure would be, how we represent especially those smaller communities. We've had lots of discussions, especially with the 2 unitary option of Gore District Council being reduced down to a community board. Gore itself is 3 times the size of any Southland town, so whether a community board is the right fit, there's lots of different models out there. There's there's local boards. How effective have they been in Auckland? They have a bit more power. There's enhanced community boards. Admittedly, Southland probably does that better than ourselves, and I would even go as far to say that maybe Invercargill as well. So yes, there are lots of options. I guess what makes this really difficult is that even with the local government commission process, it's a short time frame for a lot of options and a lot of discussion. You know, 89 was, this is what's happening, good luck. We have the ability to define our own future, which is fantastic, but it's also incredibly challenging, and there's a lot of big discussions that need to happen as well. That is where I would really encourage the community to get involved. I see a lot of the active participants at the back here, but it's getting those neighbours and friends and those people who don't engage with local government a lot to get involved in this as well, to put forward your ideas. We went to St. Peter's last week, and hearing from those young people and what they thought and what they believed was incredible. You know, they really care about this place. They really like having the identity that the Gore District has. So we have to figure out, that is our duty to them, as to how that we protect that. Just on your commentary around cost, it's going to cost money regardless, unfortunately. Amalgamations aren't cheap. These conversations aren't cheap either. The Local Government Commission will still require us to present our data, to hand it over so that they can do their modelling. They have also had expectations on us to do a lot of the consultation. You know, when we had those engagement sessions, we had to promote them. We had to spend staff time, advertising, etc., to be able to put that forward. That'll happen again as we start to explore options too. So whichever way you slice it, we're going to have to spend some money to have these conversations. But again, once in a generation, so it's probably worthwhile. Councillor McPhail.
Through your worship, thank you. I agree completely with what Councillor Coates said about the community board structure. That's one of the key things. No matter what we do, we've got to get right. Otherwise, what are we doing this for? The second part I want to ask, if I can, is the Head Start. If our neighbours to the Otago do a Head Start and we have neighbours to the south do a Head Start, do we have to fund both those, co-fund both those? If we're tied in, they tie us in with. Oops, sorry.
I would say no, because if there are two Head Start proposals that are put forward that both involve us, the minister's only going to pick one, right? He's not going to pick both for us to go down the path. If they do pick one or the other and we're lumped in and we don't agree with it, we will have to go with that. That's the decision of the minister. We won't have a choice. So that risk is real if we don't put in our own Head Start proposal, yes. Councillor McDonald?
Yeah, I think we've just got to get out there and get the community engagement with this. We can talk here all night about things, but I really think we want to get out there. And what I'd say to the community there is think about when you're judging those nuns up there, your community of interest. Has it got a common community of interest? Is the option going to be more financially viable? And what about representation? How are you going to be represented? They'll be the three things I'd be using as my judging criteria on those options there. And that's why I want option 5 up there. Let's get some community feedback. Then we can have another discussion around this table as to where the people want us to go. Because at the moment, I don't know. I know from the rural community, I'm talking to my neighbours, that they want to go with the two Southland territorial authorities. But what does the whole community want? I don't know. I've only heard from about 20 people, probably, rural people. So I need to know that information. So let's get the survey out there and get on with it. Or the thing out. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor. I think that's well said. I will just touch on the 2-unit tree. The advantage that I think everybody has with that is there has been a lot of conversation about that. There has been some independent work that has been done. So there is the TDB report that has come out that does actually assess those options. There has been a bit of work. I've done some number crunching myself off the back of a napkin. You're talking about almost a 50-50 split of ratepayers, but a 99 to 1% split of landmass. Regional council services operate across landmass. You would be shutting a large portion of that out. So there's some real challenges that we need to work through. That's not unique to that option. There are challenges with all of them. So that leads me in quite nicely to what are we going to do as council. We've thought about a bit of a comms plan. We're going to do some, we know that the community appreciates videos and engagement on Facebook and Intenio and things, so we'll have the survey on Let's Talk eventually. We'll also do some video content as well about what are the different options, what are the pros, what are the cons, and we'll all get involved as well. So keep an eye out for that online, assuming these options pass, obviously. They will take a little bit of time. Just bear with us. We've got to fit it in with our own schedules, and we've also got to make sure that staff schedules line up as well so that we can actually get those out. But we do want to communicate with you. We do want to put as much information as we know out there, as limited as it is, so that we can have those open and honest discussions. Are we ready to move towards the motions? Fantastic. I'm going to deal with A and B together. So that is receive and note the paper and approve the Gore District Council's participation in further investigations that would inform a Head Start proposal. So the mover, Councillor Cupit, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Any discussion on those two recommendations? I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. And against, that is carried. C, approves the appointment of two councillors. Do we have two councillors who would be interested in shaping what that rural identity would look like?
Can we talk about that, not here, like, say, when we have our next meeting day, can we talk about maybe who wants to be those two, or if we want two at all? Can we just take that off the table altogether for now?
What's the feeling around the table? Does no one want to participate in that working group? I think it's important to have these conversations rather than Invercargill just coming up with a... I won't be on it. I've said to Mayor Tom that I think that it should be councillors who are involved, not the mayors. Councillor Coates?
I feel extremely passionate about representation with my 3 and 4 years, whatever it is, I've been an elected member, and the frustrations that I've felt. So I feel like I'm positioned to be quite a good voice for council, if everyone else agrees.
Thank you, Councillor Coates. Councillor Fraser?
Thank you, Your Worship. I've listened to what has been said around the table and from our gentleman that spoke before. We sort of need to be in these conversations early because of timelines. I'm not available before we say anything, but I think Councillor McPhail would be also a very open and clear voice around the table.
Councillor McPhail, seems like you're being voluntold by your partner in crime.
Through your worship, I'm happy to help, and I'll get you later if I'm needed.
Fantastic. So we have Councillor Coates and Councillor McPhail. Are there any other people who would like to put their names forward and fight it out? Councillor Stringer?
In their absence, if they're unable to attend, I'll step in and take place.
Thank you, Councillor Stringer. Councillor Bruce?
Not me, but I'd like to recommend Councillor Cupit.
Councillor Cupid, it appears you've now been voluntold. Would you like to be involved in those conversations? Okay, we have a three-way battle now, almost 4 with Councillor Stringer. Councillor Coates, and I'll come back to you, Councillor McPhail.
Are we just restricted to having 2 people? Because we've got the likes of Councillor Phillips, who's already got really good regional connections with our other councils around us, and, you know, he's been in this game a long time. No offence, Neville.
Sorry, I'm going to say no to Councillor Phillips purely because he has so many other working groups that he's on, but unless he's going to go against me. Councillor Phillips?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I'm not going to go against you, and I'd like to see some representation from other ones, because in the background, don't worry, as my regional portfolio, I'm there, and I had a meeting yesterday with Mayor Scott was there, and we had a really good conversation. Friday with Mayor Tom, same scenario. So, yeah, no, look, it'd be good to have some fresh eyes and some fresh conversation. But yeah, I'm in the background, don't worry.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Just circling back to can we have 3, I'm open to having that conversation with Mayor Campbell. What I'll signal is Invercargill were only planning on putting in 1 councillor, and they were actually offering the other slot to, I see Jeremy at the back, to Environment Southland to be involved in those conversations. Probably a rural councillor from Environment Southland to talk about, you know, the complexities of a regional council and the representation that you need. So I just think that having 1 Invercargill, 1 Environment Southland, and 3 Gore might be difficult. But I can take that conversation. I think it's all up for debate. Yeah. And obviously putting forward the offer to Southland District as well. I don't want them to be excluded at all, because I think these conversations are important, regardless of whether you're looking at a 1 unitary or 2. Councillor Smith.
I think it's important to note that regardless of who ends up there, that all of us will be a part of that conversation going forward. I mean, we're quite keen in the risk and assurance space to make sure we're doing our part to support that as well. So, yeah, regardless, I'm sure we'll get good representation around that table.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's going to be all hands on deck for the next 2 months because it's a big conversation to have in 2 months' time, and with full acknowledgement, it could lead to nothing as well. We could fall into the LGC process and go through that instead. I still think they're good conversations to have. I know that the public has different views on the Head Start initiative by ministers, but I do believe it is good to have these conversations. We do need to do something different in local government in New Zealand. What the answers are, I don't know, but I'm glad that we are having the conversation overall. Do we have sorry, before we get distracted, do we have 2 front runners for that, just in case we don't want to? Councillor Coates?
I'm happy to let Mal and Councillor Keffer and Councillor McPhail do it, but happy to step in if either of you can't make a time, if that suits everyone else.
Happy with that, councillors? Councillor Stringer, it seems like you've been bumped, unfortunately. Councillor Fraser?
Do you want to move a motion in relation to that these 2 councillors for that? So, yeah.
I'll take you as the mover, Councillor Fraser. Seconder, Councillor Phillips. Any further discussion? I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. And against? The motion is carried. On to D. So were we all happy with that change of option 1 from status quo to, what did I write down? That Gore District Council does not submit a Head Start proposal and by default continues with the Local Government Commission process. All happy with that instead of enhanced status quo? Cool. And all happy with adding an option 5? Yep. Councillor Gardine?
I was just wondering about just put the option of joining with the Southland 2 unitary councils and not have a Head Start in there or not, because Southland could change its mind, or we could change our mind. We may want to go with a Head Start with Southland. That's locking us into the Local Government Commission.
So I think the way that it's been discussed is option 5 is a Head Start with the 2 unitary is the lead. The status quo, the option 1 would be the LGC process, which could still be the 2 unitary or the 1 unitary. We just go through that process. So option 5 is we want to do a Head Start and we want it to be the 2 unitary. That makes sense to everybody? Yeah. Councillor Smith?
I think the important part about this initial community engagement is to find out if there is some want and tolerance from our community to actually look at a Head Start process at all. If the feedback comes back that it's resounding, just do the LGC and go forward, it will save a lot of duplication and resource and time. So, I mean, that is something we want to hear, so we know what direction to take, and it could actually be what our community says to us. So I think so long as when we're doing the survey, it is the consultation, not the word engagement, that we are making it clear. It's about the Head Start process, because LGC will happen regardless, and we are going to be actively contributing to that. But we really want to understand, is there a want to pursue this?
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'm going to touch on the engagement versus consultation because I think that's really important. And I enjoyed explaining that to media last week as well. So consultation is what we do during the long-term plan, sometimes when we consult on an annual plan or with the district plan. That's where we take all your feedback, hear your submissions, and then we have hearings, and then we deliberate, and then we make decisions. This is just engagement. So it's a large part of what we just did around the beginnings of the long-term plan. So we just want to hear your thoughts. You don't need to do a full-blown submission. You can if you really want to. We'll make sure. I think we were talking about having an email address set up so that if you want to send through your ideas, you're more than welcome. But we won't be doing hearings, and we won't be doing all of the decision that sort of it's more informal. It's more that ongoing conversation with the community is engagement rather than consultation. Just wanted to make that clear. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Your Worship. I may need a little bit of help from the Chief Executive here, but in B, we're going to approve that we participate into the investigations to inform the Head Start proposal, right? Yet in this one here, we're thinking that we're not going to go with the Head Start. It could be a bit confusing for, is that not what it reads?
So it's more being willing to let those who are going to model all the different options use our data and be able to model efficiently and quickly as well. So being supportive of their ambitions. At this point in time, there's no financial obligations for us.
Yeah, Your Worship, I understand that, but I understand it. But if you're reading it from a non-person that says that doesn't understand what we're intending to do to pass on our data in B, and then have option 1.
Well, we've already passed A through C, so we've done that work. Yeah, we can clarify that when I do my initial video explaining everything. I can explain that for people so that they understand. Yeah, it's not saying that we will do a Head Start proposal. It's just being cooperative for those who want to model it. Councillor Bruce.
So do I need to now make it clear what I want? What I would like option 5 to be, how it's worded. What are your plans for option 5 and how it's going to be worded?
So it would be option 5, 2 unitary in Southland. Yes, it's what the gentleman who were up front were advocating for. That would be added in, and what was in the Southland proposal. Yes, yeah. Councillor Gardine.
That's not through a Head Start though. That's through the Local Government Commission. Or you?
No, that's
No, just
Head Start.
yeah,
That's option 5.
Just out.
So all of the ones that are up there, other than other and option 1, are all Head Start proposals. The Local Government Commission would be, we default to that. That's the option, yes. So I know it's confusing. We're trying to deal with 2 parallel processes at the same time. Yeah. Again, we wish that there was some foresight so that we didn't have to do 2 processes, but that's okay. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Worship. I think for everybody here, we've got to maintain as much control over the situation as we can and not let others make the decisions for us. And this is why we want the community to come back to us. We've heard the gentlemen today, they've expressed their opinion. I know there's people around the table who have their opinion. I have mine, but it's the community that's going to make this decision as best we can for us. And please do not think that this is going to be a cheap decision that is made once it's instigated. I was just reading recently on what it cost for Auckland. I know we're not in Auckland, but the numbers were outstanding and the overruns were unbelievable. So it is something that we've got to maintain some sort of control over. I like the options we've got up there, and I think going forward, the community's got to get right in and tell us.
I think that's really important to clarify, and I'll make sure this is clarified in our video content as well. Amalgamation will not save any money within the first 5 years. It will be an expensive process to amalgamate councils regardless of any of the models that are before us. So please do not have the expectation, and I know that there are lots of really well-educated people in the room who know this, but I just want to say it will not save money within the first 5 years. It may down the track, absolutely, it may become more efficient, but it won't in that transition period. If anything, it'll be more expensive. Councillor Bruce.
But we don't have the numbers to say that just yet though, do we, really?
No, we don't, but these processes are expensive to amalgamate, and you only have to look at 89 or the Auckland amalgamation to see those. Yeah. Not to say that it won't save money in the long run. Obviously, less of everything, less duplication saves money in the long run. Yeah. Any further discussion? Could I please have a mover that we authorise recommendation D with the changes that are up on the screen? Councillor Phillips, seconded by Councillor Cupid. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Bruce?
Just to be clear, like option 5 as it's worded, there's not that clear to maybe to some people in the community. Just to be absolutely clear that it's an option to go to Southland on together with just us, if you know what I mean.
I'd have to disagree. I think it's quite clear. If the public think that we're going to do a 2 unitary with ourselves in Invercargill, I don't know how that would work. So, these are just headlines. We will explain it all when we go up for engagement. We do our videos, Facebook communication, Antenio, Let's Talk, all that good stuff. We have a mover and a seconder. Any further commentary? Councillor Coates.
I just have concerns that, like, I get 1 to 5 and I get all the options are out there, but we're not consulting on what the actual representation within those options will look like. Was that going to come further down the track? And will that get added to the live document that you spoke about before?
For the Head Start process, it would likely come after. I mean, you'd probably put some thoughts together, and that's the point of the working party, so you can get ahead of that. And similarly, if that an Otago Southland model was coming out as a favourite, then you would also do a lot of that groundwork in the time frame that you have, and would probably spin up a quick working party with them too, if either of them thought that was an option. But a lot of that would be ironed out kind of after the proposal was solidified. With the Local Government Commission, it's probably a bit more, you spend a bit more time on that, but again, you're spending so much time trying to figure out who's going to work with who before you really get into that. So the working party stuff will be great because we have those conversations with our neighbours as to how this is all going to work. Councillor McPhail?
Through the chair. Look, there's one thing I actually wrote down after reading all this, and it says, if successful, financial analysis and community consultation will take place. So they've said it will, so we'll hold them to it.
Cool. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. And against? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you to the public media staff for sticking around. I think that was a really good, painless conversation.